Hi Stitchy friends, my name is Barb. I'm also known as Stitch Brat here on YouTube, and also that is my handle over on Instagram. This is my Flosstube number 7, and this is my channel where I talk about needlework and cross stitch. Today is Saturday, December 30th. So today I have to share with you my December stitching. I have 3 FFOs. I know, don't faint. 3 FFOs of all of former finishes. Well, 2 of finishes from a while ago, and then 1 was a recent finish. And then I have 2 new starts this month, and 10 or 12 progress on 10 or 12 whips to show you. Like everybody else, December is a crazy busy month for me, so I just didn't get as much stitching done as what I'd hoped, and most of the plans, whatever I said at the end of November that I planned to do, probably I didn't do most of it because I just didn't have time. But I'll show you what I did get done. So the first thing I want to talk about is my 3 FFOs, fully finished objects. Unfortunately, I don't have any of these 3 here in person because all 3 of them were gifts and they have all been given. But I do have pictures of each one that I can share. So what I'm going to do is, for each one, I'll pop in a picture and I'm going to just put it in front of my face to make it like big while I just talk for a minute about it. So the first one is Wedding Tree, and I'll pop that picture in. If you've watched any of my last few videos, you probably remember this one. I was doing this as a wedding gift for a coworker of mine, and this is a pattern from Oh My Stitches shop on Etsy, and the pattern I think calls for everything to be in white with like pink or red birds on the tree. And I just, since it was a fall wedding and fall is Melissa's favorite season, I decided to kind of redo the chart with fall colors, and I picked 4 variegated DMC colors, and then a couple solid colors, one for the tree, one for the birds, and I kind of just mapped it out what it was, what leaves I was going to do with which thread, which color thread on the paper chart, and just kind of fanned out from dark to light. So I framed this myself. This is I think it's an 8x10 frame, and I did this on 36 count vintage country mocha linen 2/2, and it's just a little bit smaller than the frame, so it was really perfect fit. And I'm gonna actually, my teeny topic for today is going to be framing, so I'll tell you a little bit more about my framing endeavor then. But I did frame this one myself, and it came out, I think it came out okay. It's not perfect. I am not a perfect framer by any means, but I gave it to Melissa a couple of weeks ago, and not only did she appreciate it, I mean, she knew that it was needlework, and she immediately said something like, "Oh my God, this must have taken you forever." I mean, and usually somebody who says something like that understands handwork and things like that. So she's not a close friend, so I really wasn't sure. I mean, I knew she would like it, but I wasn't sure how much she would know about, needlework or anything. But I do have a few pieces in my office, so most of my coworkers know that I do stuff like that. So anyway, that's the first one. That's Wedding Tree. Okay. And the second one is, I don't really know what the name of this pattern is. I call it 5-Star Poop. I'll pop a picture in here. This one is also from Oh My Stitches shop on Etsy. She has a lot of wreath type designs with quotes and things in the middle, and this was one she custom designed for me. I took the saying from one wreath, and then I like the flowers from a different wreath, and she combined them for me into this pattern. But it is available on her website. So this was stitched on 16 count black Aida, and with the called for colors, I think I might have had to change one color in the flowers. There's a white and a gray that are supposed to be contrasting, and they weren't contrasting enough, so I just maybe changed one thread or something like that. But other than that, it's all the called for colors. And I actually finished this in 2022 with the intention of giving it to one of my adult nephews and his girlfriend for Christmas last year. But I searched forever for a suitable frame for this. I don't remember now exactly how, it might be like 10 inches round. And a couple of the little buds of the flowers, you just go beyond that 10 inches. So like I really needed a frame that had like an 11-inch round opening, or maybe 11.5 inches. And I just could not find anything that wasn't exorbitantly priced, because basically in that point you're getting into a custom kind of frame. And I didn't want that. I mean, this was just supposed to be a fun, obviously snarky type, just a fun gift for my nephew, not anything, that I wanted to spend hundreds of dollars on. So he didn't get it last year, but this year I kept looking, and I did finally find this frame. I think I found it on Amazon, and it did only come in the one size, and I believe this is a 10-inch opening. And as you can see from the picture, it's pretty tight. I mean, there's some buds that pretty much hit right at the edge of the frame. And I don't love that, but honestly, this was like the best I could do in what I consider my price range for the frame. And it's actually a really nice frame. I just wish it was a tiny bit bigger, but I think it came out fine. And my nephew loved it. So obviously that's that's a win there. And I also framed this one myself. This one had a little bit different technique. I did pin the other ones that I framed along the sides. This one, however, because it's round, basically what I did was run a basting stitch around I don't know, maybe a couple inches from the outside of the edges of the stitching, and then I centered the piece over it wasn't foam core, it was I don't know, like whatever the photo was supposed to lay on, that this is a photo frame, whatever the photo was supposed to lay on. So, and then I gathered it up in the back, and that it was not that easy to center, but with some reworking and a little bit of time and tugging, I got it in, and it came out fine. So I was really happy with that, and that I was finally able to give that to my nephew and his girlfriend for Christmas this year. And I mentioned this was one of my snarky cross-stitch pieces, and I do have a couple of those, and this is just totally my nephew's aesthetic. I mean, this is what he would like to hang in his bathroom. And I've come to appreciate that younger people like stuff like this, and it's fun. So both of my kids really like this when I showed it to them too, so my adult children. So I never used to think there was a place in the world for snarky cross stitch, and I've certainly broadened my horizons in the last few years. So the third one is also somewhat of a snarky piece. I'll pop that picture in here. This is 0 Days Without Sarcasm, and this I made for my older son. Let me see here. Oh, you know what? I think I said wrong. Okay, the wedding tree was not Oh My Stitches. It was from Nikki Pattern on Etsy. I'm sorry. Sorry, Nikki. From Nikki Pattern. The wreath was from Oh My Stitches, and this one is also from Oh My Stitches. I knew I had two from Oh My Stitches. I just mixed them up. So this is called 0 Days Without Sarcasm, and my older son is probably the most sarcastic person that I know. And unfortunately, he swears that he got it from me and that everything, he learned everything from me, so to speak. I don't, I do tend to be a sarcastic person. I don't think I'm as sarcastic as he is. However, this suited him to a T. So this is another one that I stitched actually in 2022, and then I didn't get it finished for him for Christmas last year. I didn't get it framed. And this one I have no excuse because it fits in an 8x10 frame. I had the frame. I had all the framing materials. I just didn't get it done. I framed a couple of pieces myself last year in 2022 in the summer. And I mean, framing isn't really hard. It's more like fussy and time consuming. But I was just sort of burnt out after framing those two pieces, and somehow I never got around to framing his piece. So this year when I was doing the other ones, I decided this is it. I'm gonna get this done. So and also having words, you worry about the words have to be straight. But this one actually went more smoothly than the wedding piece did, maybe because I'd had the practice of doing, some additional pieces before I did this one. So, but anyway, I was very pleased with how this came out. This was on 32 count. I think it's just plain white linen. And then I used all the whatever colors she called for. And this is actually, I mean, you can probably see from the flowers, this actually had quite a few colors in it, and there's a lot of shading in those flowers. Like when I first saw this, I thought it was kind of an easy stitch, and it's really, I mean, it's really not. This is really a nicely done chart in terms of the shading of the flowers and really how realistic and pretty they look. I was super pleased with it when I was done, like how nice everything came out. So those are my three FFOs. I don't have any other finishes besides those. I was really hoping to get one more finish in December, but it didn't happen. Like I said, not that much stitching time, and just like everybody else, spending time with family and so forth around the holidays. My older son lives in New York City, and he comes home for a week or 10 days around Christmas, so obviously wanted to spend time with him and my other son and my husband and stuff. So just not as much stitching time as usual. But I did manage to work on 10 or 12 whips, and make some progress. So I'm going to show you those. I'll show you those now. And a few of them I have patterns for, but most of them this month I don't, so I'm going to have to pop in pictures. But the first one is my usual first one, which is my morning coffee project. And that is this one, the Scrabble board. And this is by the Vivsters, Vivian Powers. Her shop is Vivsters on Etsy. And she has a series of game boards, and she also has lots of other really great patterns. She's an amazing designer. Many people are, I mean, she's very popular. You'll see lots of her designs. So this is my morning coffee project. I don't do the one thread a day or 20, whatever, half an hour or whatever. I just work on this project every morning when I have my coffee. So some mornings that's half an hour, weekend mornings it might be an hour and 15 minutes, but whatever it is, I work on it pretty much every day. Every now and then I might skip a day for some reason, and here's where we are. So I think when I showed this last month, I think I had almost finished all the inner tiles. And as you can see, I have now finished all the inner tiles, and I've started these black, I mean, they're borders. They go up and down between all the tiles. So I've started those, and I'm, well, I mean, maybe more than half the way down. And then I have to do the ones going up and down as well. And I waited to do those until the end because the way the stitching was, I wanted to bury that black thread as I went across under other stitches. So the easiest way to do that was to do everything else first and then do those black borders last. But you know, they're pretty fast and you see a lot of progress pretty quickly. So that's kind of fun to do. So here's where I am on that. And obviously, I mean, I think this will be a finish early in 2024. I don't know exactly when. Once I finish doing those black borders, I do have some other plans for this. I bought some beads, and Vivian Powers in the pattern had shown there's some gold in it with sparkly. She called for sparkly thread, and I decided not to do the Krynic or whatever was called for the sparkly thread, but I decided I kind of like the idea of zhuzhing it up a little bit. So what I might do is add some beads and around, not on the playing surface, because I don't want it to get in the way of the tiles, because I'm actually going to make it into a game board and we're going to use it. But around there's some spaces around the outer border where some beads could go, and I bought some different colored beads, so we'll see how that goes. I don't have any plans yet exactly. I mean, I don't have anything planned out yet, but once the borders are finished, I'll play around and I'll see what happens. By the way, I apologize in advance if I sneeze or sniffle or anything. We've had crazy warm weather for winter, and my allergies have just been acting up like crazy, and I will just sneeze unexpectedly. So if that happens, I apologize in advance, and that's also why I have a cup of coffee here, because my allergies are really affecting my my throat and my nose and my eyes and everything. So it helps to be able to take a sip of a beverage when I'm talking. So, okay, my second whip is my Martin Luther King piece, and this is always kind of a fan favorite, but I do have a picture of this. This is what it'll look like when it's done. This is from a shop on Etsy called Mumla Cross Stitch, or Mumla X Stitch, M-U-M-L-A. However, you can't buy anything from this shop right now because she is a Russian designer, and her stuff has all been pulled from Etsy, or it's not available. You just can't access it. But she did have lots of other designs like this of famous people and in this style, and they're really great. So I've actually worked on this I started this several years ago, so it's really been a long time, but I really only work on this like during virtual meetings and stuff at work. So it just doesn't get a lot of, especially now that we're back in the office a couple days a week. I don't have as many virtual meetings as I used to. So I probably need to start thinking about working on this at other times, but for now, I'm still okay with. So here's where Dr. King is, and I think he is looking pretty good. I had anticipated working on him at the retreat I went to in November, because I actually, maybe you can see, I outlined some blocks here, and I've got some down here, and then I think I have maybe there's something else in here that are all one color, and you know, all I'd have to do is just pull out the floss and just stitch away. And I'm not sure why, but I did not work on him at all at the retreat. So since that time, I have, though, and I've almost finished filling in this brown block, and then there was another one I filled in. I'm not sure. It was up here somewhere. Anyway, I'm working on this side of his head and his ear and stuff in here, and then this part starts the actual background behind his head. So anyway, I think he's looking pretty good. I probably should also, what I'd like to do is I need to finish this eye and finish that eyebrow and stuff. I mean, he doesn't look weird anymore since he's now looking at me instead of a one-eyed man looking at me, but I would like to finish that. I'd like to finish that other eye so he looks a little more complete. Okay, that's Martin Luther King. And okay, my next one is a Carolyn Manning piece, and I do not have a picture of this one, so I will pop a picture in here. This is from her Shooting Star collection, and this particular colorway is called Please Be Home for Christmas. And this one I started last year around Christmas, in December sometime, I believe. And here's where I am. But I didn't work on it very much last year. I'm not 100% sure why. I guess once Christmas was over, I just didn't work on it again. So this year I brought it out, and I've really worked a lot on it. Obviously this is the bottom of the design, and I'm working over. I'll bring it a little closer. The colors get blown out, but you can see a little bit. It's hard to tell the fabric. That's probably pretty good. I have both my ring light on and I have the window open, and I probably should have shut the window because I found that when I have both daylight and my lamp on, I don't know, they sort of compete with each other for what type of lighting there should be in the room. So anyway, this is a pretty good rendition of the fabric. It is a 32 count Lugana, and the color is like a light green, but it's really like it's not a pastel light, it's like a light mossy color of green. So as you can see in the colors in here, there's lots of different shades of green, and it really just goes great with these colors. And I just love this pattern. And I normally do not think of myself as a seasonal stitcher at all. I usually just stitch whatever moves me, and a lot of times, you know, I stitch autumn and spring and all that. But this year, for whatever reason, I felt like stitching Christmas like at the right time. Like after Thanksgiving, the bug sort of hit me to start stitching some Christmas designs. So I did. So that's what I've been working on. I have some other ones too, you'll see. Okay, let's see. Okay, this next one I also do not have a picture of, so I will pop in a picture here. This is another one from Oh My Stitches shop on Etsy, and it's another, sorry, I thought I was about to sneeze. It's another wreath design. This one is called Soup of the Day. And so the funny thing is, I think when I showed this last month, or whenever I showed it last, I showed it sideways because I was watching the video and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally don't have that right. And I even have a little trick that I do for myself to make sure I always have things facing the right way and right side up, and my trick failed me, I guess. So here's where I am on this. So the wreath part, the flowers I'm pretty close to half done. And I knew that was going to happen. I should have clipped it, sorry. I'm pretty close to half done on the flowers. And this one is fairly simple. There is some shading, but it goes pretty quick. Most of the leaves are just two colors of green. I mean, the flowers are a few more colors than that, but they go pretty fast. And then the words in the center. So I would like to work on this, and I would like to get this done early in 2024 as well. And it really should not take that long if I just put some time into it. This is a good one to stitch at night because this is on a 32 count kind of off-white linen. This is that favorite linen that I used to have a big piece of, and this is like the last piece of it. But it's just super easy to see. You know, it's a reasonably big count, so I don't know, and it's bright colors, so it's just really easy to work on any time of day or if my eyes are tired. So I often will reach for this for that reason. But I would like to get it done, and I'd like to hang that in my kitchen. So maybe I can both get it done and have an FFO. We'll see about that. Okay, my next one is another Christmas piece, and this one was a new start last month. So if you watched my video in November, you probably saw it. But I don't have a color picture, so I'll pop a picture in here. This is Christmas Cat by Barbara Anna, and this is a pretty new release of hers. I bought it within days of it being released. I don't know, for some reason I saw it and I just loved it, and I couldn't wait to start stitching it. So I got the pattern and found some fabric and went to town. All right, I'm going to clip this one. My fabric is very wrinkly on this one, and make sure she stays on there. Okay, here we are. This is Christmas Cat. I'll bring that in a little closer. Barbara Anna Designs. And this is actually my first Barbara Anna, even though I own several of her patterns. I own several of her Dreaming Girl patterns, and I love them. And why haven't I stitched them? I don't know. This cat has just been super fun to stitch. The entire top part I think is all done, and I'm now working down into her skirt. And I have to, she just has, if you've stitched any Barbara Anna, you know, she just has the sweetest little details, like this little Santa, like it looks like he's in a sled, but it's really like a little helicopter sled. There's like a little blades above him. I mean, it's just like, it's adorable. And just some of the other details, just the cat's face and that cute little tam or knit cap that the cat is wearing. It's just so cute. So the fabric, this is one of those blues that just does not photograph very well. In real life, this is a pretty vibrant blue. I mean, it's not like in-your-face electric blue, but it's coming across on camera as a gray blue, and it's not a gray blue. It's really more like a aquamarine kind of blue. It's beautiful. And in fact, well, the floss is doing the same thing. There's colors in her skirt that are very similar to the fabric. So this fabric is a 32 count linen, and this was dyed by Laura's Fabrics, and Laura is Laura of Riverview Stitching, and that's where the retreat that I went to last month, and this piece of linen came in my particular goodie bag. We got to choose, I think, linen or Ada, and we got a piece of fabric that Laura had dyed. And it turned out to be the perfect size for Christmas Cat. So I was so excited to be able to use that pretty blue fabric right away. So again, Christmas Cat, Christmas stitching, I don't know what happened, but I had to do it. I was in the Christmas spirit. All right, okay, I'm getting a lot of sunshine in here now. I hope that's not going to throw me off too much. Okay, my next one I think was also a new start either last month or the month before. This is a Mill Hill kit called Floral Fantasy. I think this is Floral Yellow number 2, as there's a Floral Yellow number 1. And there's also blue florals, 1 and 2, I think. And I own, I think, one of the blues. So I've said this before, but I was influenced to start this because of Brenda, Handwork Maniac. Stitched it last year, and it's really a beautiful pattern. Unlike a lot of Mill Hill kits, which are on perforated paper, this one is actually on Ada, and it's on fabric. It's on Ada. It's on 14 count yellow. Sorry, my board. It's on 14 count yellow Ada. Very pale yellow. mean, it kind of looks white here, but it's pale yellow. And then, you know, there's lots of, I mean, there's probably 18 colors of floss and 5 or 6 colors of beads. So I'm here, the big flower is up here, and this is the flower toward the bottom. I think the bottom of the design is probably down here somewhere. So I'm working around the bottom half of the design. And my only issue with this has been the pattern is kind of hard to read because it was super small the way it came in the package, and it's square, and the size that it was made it hard to enlarge like on a regular printer or a regular copier. I could not get it so that, I mean, it really could just be on 2 pages and be blown up enough to be able to see it easily, but you can't do it with the controls in such a way that it works. So I ended up not enlarging it as much as what I probably would have liked to enlarge it. But so I have to really be careful. The chart is pretty small, and I do a lot of squinting, I guess, when I work on that one. But that is I'm actually enjoying working on that a lot. I'm a little afraid of the beading when it comes along, but I'll deal with it when it gets here. And it's fun to work on. That's my first Mill Hill kit. Okay. My next piece is the Star Touched Meadow Stitch Along. I don't have a picture, so I'll pop one in here. And this is another Carolyn Manning, and this Sal Stitch Along started in November. And she's releasing one of these blocks every month, so the December block has been released. But I'm still working on November, and I'm actually still have a ways to go on November. So, well, I'll show you what So I do have all of the blocks outlined. She gave us all the color of the outline of all the blocks. So if we were going to do this, if we were going to stitch them all together, we could go ahead and do that. I'm sure on camera, these all look like the same color, but they're actually all different. They're different shades of green. There's a couple reds. So obviously this is the November block. And I'm probably about half done, or maybe a little bit more than half done. And it's just like the shooting star patterns, except it's miniature. So there's fewer stitches for each of the little star motifs. But it's a beautiful design, and the idea is that each month features colors from flowers that grow in that month or that are associated with that month. So I forget what all, I think November is chrysanthemums and maybe something else, but you know, so there's oranges and like dark pinks and those kinds of colors. And I am stitching this on, I'm sure it looks white, let's see if I can, but this is 18 count pink, light pink Aida. And I probably would have preferred to use like a linen for this, but I couldn't find a light pink. I wanted it to be 36, I wanted it to be 18 count or 36 count over 2, because I didn't want this to be super, super big, and on using even 32 count or whatever would have been too big. So I did want to stick with the 18 count. So I couldn't find a linen in the color I liked, so I went with Aida, but easy enough. I'm using 2 strands of the called for floss. I don't really mess with Carolyn's color choices. And obviously I'm not keeping up with the stitch along. I mean, I hope to not get, I would be happy if I could stitch 1 block every 2 months as opposed to 1 block every month and get it done in 2 years. The blocks are 77 by 77, which, you know, when you're just thinking about it, doesn't seem all that big, but that's solid stitching. I mean, that's thousands of stitches. And if you weren't doing anything else, you could easily get it done in a month. But I have a lot of other things I like to work on. So for me, I'm going to aim for maybe getting 1/2 of those done in a month. Now, I'm obviously behind on November because, again, didn't have that much stitching time in December. But hopefully I can get caught up. I'd like to get caught up in January and get part of the, start in the December block in January. We'll see how that goes. Okay. Okay, the next one I'm not sure I've shown before. And I'm going to show a black and white picture because I don't think there is a color picture. This is called Platinum Jubilee, and this is from Thames Path Samplers. And I got the PDF on Etsy, I believe, from her Etsy store. This was obviously her design that was released to commemorate the 75th anniversary of Queen Elizabeth being on the throne, her Platinum Jubilee. And I started it at that time, and I don't know, for some reason I have not worked on this very much, even though it's a simple pattern and I'm only using one color of floss. But what I liked about this is there's several sheets of text that go with this, and the designer explains what the different flowers represent, because they represent different countries in Great Britain, and then all the different things that represent royalty and just various other things associated with Queen Elizabeth and her house. So I'm doing this on a 32 count Lugana in a color, I think it's called Plum. And this was dyed by Fiber on a Whim. And it's really a beautiful fabric. And I figured, purple's the color of royalty. So it seemed like a good choice. And so here's where I am. I don't really have very much done, but I do have the outline done, and that first roses up here. So this is a little bit more vibrant purple than what the purples, again, kind of looks grayed out on camera, but it's really pretty vibrant, and there's a lot of modeling. It's a beautiful fabric. And I'm using DMC 211 as my thread color, so it's a pale, pale, pale orchid color. And I once saw a picture of Queen Elizabeth or something wearing a skirt suit in this color. And, she always had the hat and the handbag and everything to match. And it just was beautiful. And I thought, what a great combination that would be on this. So that's the color I've chosen. I just need to work on this. But I will say, I love 32 count Lugana. And this is a beautiful fabric. But just like any other fabric, Lugana does shrink when it's hand-dyed. And I think this was the first piece of hand-dyed Lugana that I've had. And the fibers are just kind of puffed up, and it can be really hard. Even though this is not a dark color, it's sort of a medium color, it can be really hard to see those holes. So I have to have really good lighting and work on that either in daylight or like right under my lamp, and be really careful. So that's probably why it hasn't gotten more done on it so far. It's just because it can be kind of difficult for me to work on it. Okay. Okay, my next piece is Alice, and this is from Donna Stitch. She's a Korean designer, and she has a shop on Etsy where you can buy her PDFs, and she has a whole series of fairy tale based designs, and this is one of them. I think there's like 8 or 10 of them, and they're quite popular. You'll see them, a lot of people have done them. As you can see from that pattern though, they're pretty much full coverage. The whole part of the design that's stitched is full coverage. So there's a lot of stitching on these. Oops. Thread's in the way here. So here's where I am on Alice. I still don't have the cat finished. I had hoped to get the cat finished, but I don't know, somehow I came over here and I started working over here. I think because I was watching TV or something, so I wanted something I didn't have to pay as much attention to. So that's why I'm working over there. But I've got quite a bit of it done. I'm stitching this with my friend Carla, Stitch Me Sane. She's here on YouTube and also on Instagram. She is stitching the outline, there's like this that goes all the way through the design, and she's stitching that first before she colors anything in. And I have a whole different approach, just sort of top down, so it's kind of fun to see what we're doing. We do have a salve for this, or a hashtag, because it's a stitch along. And I think we started this in November of 22, and we started it to commemorate the day that the Alice in Wonderland book was actually published, which was like November 19th or something like that. So that's when the SAL started. But the SAL is Everything Alice, SAL, Everything Alice, SAL. So if you're working on any Alice in Wonderland design, not this one in particular, but any of them, please use that hashtag and join us. There's quite a few different designs people have shown on there already, and it's really fun. There's tons of Alice in Wonderland designs. It's such a popular book and stuff still. Okay. Okay, I don't have a picture of this next one, so I will pop one in here. This is Southern Land, or the Southern Land Sampler. I'm not sure exactly what its real name is. And this is by Owl Forest Embroidery, which is, I believe, a Russian designer. But you can get their designs. They have a UK-based website, so you can get things from them or from somebody who's working with them. This is another one. I'm not sure why I don't work on this more often, because I love it, and it's just really not that, it's not that big. So here it is. Southern Land. There's only 4 colors in this. There's 2 reds and 2 blues. And I just think the colors in this they're just amazing. Even though there's only 4 colors, there's so much, they're used in such a great fashion. So I'm stitching this on, I think this is a 32 count. This is a white linen, because I really wanted the red, white, kind of the red, white, and blue look. So there it is up close. And as you can see, I'm working along, there's a whole border of, or a whole big floral motif thing, and I'm working on that here. This actually goes pretty fast when I work on it. So again, I'm not, well, I mean, I do know why I don't work on things, because there's only so much time in a day and so much stitching time, and I have way too many whips. So, but that is another one that I've had going for a long time, and it's really not that difficult. I enjoy working on it, so I just would like to get that one done too. Okay, is this my last one? It is. This is my last whip. My other 2 things are new starts. So this is my last whip. I don't have a picture of this one either, so I'll pop one in here. This is another Carolyn Manning Shooting Star design. This is called Arctic Blast. And she released this either last December or last January. So it's been about a year. And this is if you like this is actually a free pattern that she released. It's a regular sized shooting star pattern. They're about, I don't know, maybe 180 by 180 stitches. But she released it to her Facebook group. So if you join her Facebook group, it's not in the files section. I can't exactly remember how you access it. There's some trick, but there might be something pinned or saved in the Facebook group, and it's not that hard to find. I mean, I've gotten several people interested in this design, and they ended up being able to find it through her Facebook group. So, but it was a free pattern through her Facebook group. And I started this with my friend Pale Fire Stitcher on Instagram. And we started, I don't think we started on the same day. I think I started before her, but she's done a lot more work on it than I have. But I just recently pulled this back out, and here's where I am. I'm actually pretty happy with what I got done, because I think when I originally started this last January, I maybe only had like this much done. And then, so I've been working on this the last few weeks and really got quite a bit done. This should be the edge of the design, if I counted correctly. So I've got the width of the design here. And this is, I'm not sure exactly what this fabric is. It's a 32 count. I think that it is a light gray Lugana. It's probably a Zweigart Lugana because it's not modeled, so it's not hand dyed. It has kind of a blue cast to it, but I think that is mostly because when you look at it with blue threads, it tends to look blue. And I think it's really just kind of a gray, but it's a blue-based gray. But it's very pretty. I'll bring it in a little closer. And Pale Fire Stitcher is doing some interesting things. She substituted in some like fun threads for some of these where there's some big areas of white, like here, and I think there's going to be one, I don't know, I think it might be down here. It's like a big star. And she's got some, maybe they're sparkly whites or something like that. And now that I've gotten to some of those big white areas, like I think what she's doing is really going to look fantastic. I'm anxious to see how it comes out. I'm just using all the called for colors. Okay, that was my last WIP that I worked on, and I do have 2 new starts, and both of them are since Christmas. So the first one is a start of a Christmas present that I got, and I probably cannot show this without glare. I really don't want to take this in. I'll take it out of the bag. Okay, so my older son of the 0 Days Without Sarcasm fame, he got me this kit for Christmas from the Drawn Thread. I pointed him in the right direction and he picked this one out. So the Drawn Thread sells on their website kitted up versions of most of their designs. I'm not sure if it's all of them, but there's the 4 seasonal gardens, and then there's also some other gardens like the herb garden, the kitchen garden, I forget what else. And they have kit versions of all of those. And what's great about that is if you've looked at any Drawn Thread patterns, they're always charted in silks, and not just silks, but a variety of silks. And so when you buy the kit, you get the silks. And you get, you don't have to buy all the silks individually. You get just enough to complete the design, which I love. And I'll show you what they come on these little cards. So there's 2 cards like this. So these are the needlepoint ink silks. And then there's another card that has some dinky dyes and I think some Maybe it might be thread gatherer colors. So there's like 3 or 4 different brands of silk that are used in this design, and then there's just enough of each one. So I'll show you where I am. I started this, I think, the day after Christmas, and I'm just going to hold this up. I don't really need the board for this, I don't think. So here's where I am on this. Maybe this will be my screenshot, huh? I think it's hilarious you have to pose on YouTube for your own screenshot, but if you want to be smiling, you do, because otherwise you look bizarre, like with your mouth open. Obviously, I'm working on the house, so I started sort of in the center. If you know anything about drawn thread patterns, which you've probably seen them, they're very popular. They have lots of specialty stitches in them, in addition to using silks. And I looked at the directions. That comes with complete directions for all the specialty stitches, and I'm not like, I'm a little intimidated, but I'm not scared. But I decided I wanted to start out with something that was just simple straight stitching. So I started out with the house and thought I'd get used to some of the silks and working with these particular silks. I've never used NPIs, and I've never used dinky dyes, so I'm excited about that. These are NPI colors. There's a white, a gray, a dark green, and a dark blue in there. And I have to say, I have never used NPIs before, and they're fantastic. Silks sometimes don't, they don't behave when you stitch with them, and NPIs kind of behave. They're just a joy to stitch with. They don't fight you. As long as you're careful with them, they're not fuzzy. So far, I've even just been pulling one strand off the card at a time to stitch with, and that's been fine. It comes right off with no issues and no fuzzing of the other threads. And beautiful coverage, beautiful coverage. So I'm really happy with this kit, and my son did really good. So I'm going to keep working on that for sure. So my other new start I actually started this morning. I've been wanting to start it for a week or so, or well, probably longer than that, but I don't know. I was having some problems with just printing things and various things. So anyway, I don't have a picture of this one, so I will pop this in here. So this, I don't know what the name of this pattern is. I don't think it has a name. It's just called Wedding or something. But this is from Nikki Pattern, again, on Etsy. Love her stuff. But I am not doing this for a wedding. I'm actually doing this for a birth record. I have one of my nephews had his first child in late November, and they're kind of a couple that just has a very, I mean, their nursery is not super baby or super cutesy. They're more classic, elegant type people. So I just decided I wanted to make something, a birth record for the baby that would go beyond the walls of a nursery and could be something you could have out much longer. So I just decided this is simple. It's just like a wreath with leaves. Excuse me. And I think it's beautiful. So I'm just going to put the baby's name and birth date in when I'm done. And I don't have very much. Like I said, I just started this. And I also, I messed around with what fabric and stuff in the floss and everything. So I only have a teeny itsy bitsy little start on this, but I'll show it to you anyway. And I should have started a different color because it's also hard to see. Well, I guess you can see it. So I have 2 colors going here. There's like a light blue right here, and then this is a dark green. So that's a couple of the leaves on the top of the wreath. So I decided I wanted to stitch this on a kind of a tan colored linen. So this is actually a 32 count flax linen by Zweigart. And flax, I mean, you can't really tell on camera very well, but you know, it has those sort of, it's like Rustico Ada. It has those different colors that sort of make up the tan color to it. And I don't know, I thought that would look really sort of natural and like organic along with the leaves and stuff. So, and this chart also it actually looks super simple. And there aren't that many colors, but I swear, like every single color is used. Every single color of green and gray is used in these leaves and stuff. So it's a little more, it's not quite as easy stitching as what I had thought that it was. And I actually don't have all my floss. I'm missing a couple colors. Got most of them, but I'm missing a couple colors. So I got to get to Joann's one of these days and get my missing colors so I can keep going on that. Okay. That's all my whips, all my starts, and my FFOs. So supply replenishment, I actually did not, except for buying some floss, I did not buy anything in December. I didn't have any orders come in. I just, I mean, I'm pretty sure all I bought was like floss for a couple things maybe that I needed or projects that I started and stuff. Oh, I kitted up that skating Santa, which I haven't started yet, but I'm still hoping to start that. But anyway, so I really don't have anything to show for supply replenishment, which is probably a good thing since I have lots of supplies. So my teeny topic I mentioned is going to be framing. And framing, of course, is not a teeny topic at all. Framing is a really big topic. But I just wanted to say, if you've ever thought about framing stuff for yourself, give it a try. I would just encourage you to do it. Framing is not difficult. What it is fussy and time consuming. So you have to be patient and you have to be willing to look over your work and repin as necessary, well, depending on the method you use, but to make it right. So you have to invest time. So if you're not a patient person, you know, maybe try to gain some patience before you do your first framing. But I'll just mention a couple tips. So there's a series of framing videos that Kit and Stitcher, Teresa Vanette, put out several years ago. And if you don't know, she's Shakespeare's Peddler is her design company, but when she was younger, she worked at a framing store. So she is like an expert framer in addition to all her other many talents. But in her tutorials, I mean, she shows everything, and she shows you the tools that you might get. She shows you substitutes for things if you don't want to spend money on some of the tools that she happens to have because she worked in a framing store. But she shows you the technique for pinning. And she says, too, it's really just time. You have to take time and get it right. So I used those tutorials, and I used the pinning method, which to me just makes more sense in getting it straight. You can kind of adjust as you go, which is what I like about the pinning method. So on mine, on my foam core, I glued 2 very thin layers of quilt batting on mine to stretch it over. And I think when you have that instead of just plain foam core, it helps stretch it. But it's also a little bit harder to maneuver it when you have to make adjustments. So if you do that, keep that in mind. But here's a great tip I have a couple tips. In addition to using Teresa Vanette's, or at least look at her videos. I mean, there's other framing videos, so obviously if you find one you like better, that's great. Or you want to do the lacing technique, that's great too. But hers are great if you're going to try the pinning technique. But I mean, mine came out great, I think. Mine came out fine. I'm happy to give them as gifts. But you know, if I have some heirloom piece that's big, I'm still taking that to a professional framer. I mean, this is for, to me, smaller things that are gifts that just would be cost prohibitive to get a custom frame for. I mean, I didn't want to spend that much on the gift kind of thing. And it doesn't, really doesn't matter that much. It's not an heirloom type piece. It's just like it's just a little gift. So 8 by 10, 11 by 14, I think I would be fine. Probably anything bigger than that, I would probably still have custom framed unless I really get good at framing, which I don't see happening. But who knows? It could. So that's one thing, is just keep in mind that, probably for smaller pieces. So one of the hardest things about framing is cutting the foam core that you're going to pin to if you're pinning. And here is my all-time best tip for that. If you go to Michael's craft store, assuming you have one around you, and you buy a big piece of foam core, I mean, it's like poster size or something is what they sell them in. They will cut it for you for free in their framing department. Just ask, and you can even say, you can buy a big piece and say, I need 5 pieces cut 8 by 10, or 5 pieces cut 11 by 14, or whatever. And if they don't have time to do it then, they'll have you come back, but they will cut it for free. And let me tell you, there are ways to cut foam core at home yourself, and I did do one piece myself, and it came out okay. But it was a lot easier to have it done absolutely perfectly at Michael's for free. So that is my plan for the future, is buy it at Michael's and ask them to cut it. Joann's might do that too. They have a framing department, so does Hobby Lobby. I don't know. I just asked at my Michael's and they did it. They did it for free. So that's my best technique there, or my best tip there. So my other tip is get the supplies that you need. And I'm not going to say get everything that you possibly need to do a professional framing job. And if you watch those Teresa's videos, you'll see she mentions some tools and things, and then she'll say, the problem with this is it's super pricey. So unless you're going to do tons of framing, you're probably not going to want to buy this. So here's what you can use instead. So I'm the here's what you can use instead kind of person, except what you do need to do if you're going to do pinning, you need the right pins. They have to be stainless steel, because stainless steel doesn't rust. So you're going to pin all the sides of your work probably every 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. There's a lot of pins in there, so you don't want them to rust and ruin your work. So you need stainless steel pins, which you can easily get. I don't know if they sell them. They might sell them at Joann's or something. I'm not positive, but you can definitely order them online. I got mine on Amazon. I got a great big container of them for $10 or something. And then I also got acid-free framing tape. You don't have to have that, but what I like to do, I don't cut the excess fabric off the back. I just fold it over and then I tape it in place before I put the backing on. Because Teresa talks about this a little bit. She says something like, keep in mind that the ideal thing is like whatever you do, you want to be able to undo. Somebody should be able to undo. So I like to just keep everything the way it was and just put that extra fabric, fold it over, tuck it in, and tape it with acid-free framing tape. You can also lace the back or just take some stitches in the back and pull it tight. And some people do cut off the excess fabric, and obviously that's fine if that's what you decide to do. But anyway, at least get the acid-free framing tape and the pins. Other than that, you can kind of make do. You don't have to have a special kind of glue to glue the paper onto the back and that kind of stuff. So whatever you decide to use will work fine. But don't be afraid of framing. I was terrified the first time I did it, but I found out that I could do it. And my friend Palefire Stitcher tells me that the more I do it, the easier it'll get. And she frames some fairly large things of her own that she stitched. She frames them herself, and hers are beautiful. But I've already seen that what she said is basically true, because having done a few pieces within a month, it did get easier. And I have one more I'm going to do actually. So it did get easier, and I could see that, if you take your time and sort of work on your technique, it does get better. So that's my encouragement there, and that's my teeny topic. Plans, I don't have 2024 plans yet. I have just not thought about it yet, even though 2024 is almost upon us. I will be thinking about it soon. In January, I mentioned a couple things as I went through my WIPs that I wanted to get done early in 2024. I'm sure the Scrabble board will get done. At least the stitching will be finished. I promised myself I was going to get that Liza's Bouquet, my big floral piece that I just have the back stitch left, that was going to be done by the end of 2023, and I failed myself in that regard. I don't know. I just somehow could not face that back stitching in December. So I'm going to get that back out, and that's going to be another goal, to get that done as soon as possible. I really would like that one off my plate. And then I have a few other things like that. Overall, I would like to get my WIPs down to under 40. Right now, I think I'm in the high 40s. So I would like to work more on getting some finishes, and I have some medium-sized things I could finish. I'd like to get those so that I stay under 40. I mean, I don't really have a reason except that I just feel more comfortable not having 9 million WIPs. So I feel like Kindred Stitcher Lisa mentioned she was keeping her WIPs under 40, and I kind of thought, that's a good number for me, because I'm over that right now, and it makes me feel a little bit like I don't get to all my stuff. So I'm going to try to do that. I would like to do a WIP parade. I'm just not sure when I'm going to be able to do it. Hopefully sometime in January. With all those WIPs, it's a little bit, thinking about doing a WIP parade is a little bit intimidating, because I just have so many WIPs. But if I do it, it will be, I will not talk about each WIP very much. It'll really just be showing it and showing my progress, because otherwise it'll just take way too long. So I may end up doing a WIP parade in the next couple weeks when people are doing them for the new year. So that's about it, I think, for this time. Hey, that's not too bad. I'm just a little bit over an hour. So as we head into the new year, I wish you all the best, and I want to just remind you to take life one stitch at a time. And I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next month, Stitchy friends. Bye.